Number 4, I think Jordan Love wins the MVP. First of all, the last 10 starts last year, he was the best quarterback in football. Yep. Also, I think there's voter fatigue with Lamar, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes winning MVP. We want a new story. Media likes stories. He's fresh. He's fun. Also, I think they're stacked offensively with an offensive coach. Josh Jacobs, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, Christian Watson. I think they have. And last year, their offense at the end of the year, it was like, whoa, what do we got here? Young quarterback, generationally aligned with all his young receivers and tight ends and O-linemen. I think this offense is magic this year.
Okay, Colin has officially completed his entire transformation on Jordan Love. Now, he has absolutely changed his mind, and we should absolutely give him all the credit in the world, because we have a lot of people in media, I won't say names, but they can't let go of their original takes, and they just want to constantly try to twist it in a way that still makes them right. I'm sure you guys can think of plenty of names, so I don't need to say that. And that is not who Colin is. And Colin was really anti-Jordan Love, right? He kept saying there's more footage of Bigfoot out there. Jordan Love's not the guy. Jordan Love's not the guy. And he said it last season. And again, I'm not repeating this to try to, pull Colin down, because I think it should be, applauded that he actually changed his mind and has gone full circle on it. I think that's a good thing. We should all be changing our minds regularly. I talk about this all the time. I'll change my mind mid-take. I'll be saying something, by minute 1, and then by the time I get to minute 8, I'm like, actually, I don't think I agree with what I just said. I'm changing my mind here. So I think it's awesome. And the fact, I put Jordan Love in the MVP conversation months ago. That was my bold prediction, so to speak, where I got Jordan Love. It's really, to me, it's between Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. But also, the more I think about it, I can even add a few other names in there as well. I think this year it's going to be one of the most competitive MVP races we've ever seen. Last year, it was they didn't know who to give it to because nobody was really running away with it. And this year, listen, the MVP is just strictly a narrative, right? It's what story is the media trying to sell us. I do think that there's voter fatigue with Lamar Jackson, and I think they feel silly for giving Lamar Jackson the MVP only to have him not look really much like an MVP in the playoffs, and clearly, not him when it mattered most. They don't like that. They really don't. Quite frankly, I'm sure a lot of people would want to go back in time and vote for even Patrick Mahomes. And so I think Lamar Jackson would have to be absolutely historic. The guy would have to be rushing 100 yards a game and throwing for 300 yards a game to be back in that, conversation. And then I think there's just interesting storylines that the media wants to see happen, right? And I think so much of that is going to depend on where their teams are, because since all of these players are so close to one another in terms of at least narrative interest, it's who has the number 1 seed. I think it's still hard for Tua to overcome the idea that he's successful because of his team, because you have, Tyreek, Mike McDaniel, you have these issues that also then translate to, as well as Brock Purdy having these issues as well, in terms of people saying, Christian McCaffrey, if he didn't win an MVP last season, considering all his numbers and the success that the 49ers had, it's going to be hard for him to continue to kind of do that. Which is why I think also right now, the NFL is ready to have Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, these quarterbacks to really step into when you talk about who are the top quarterbacks in the NFL, for the last couple of years, everyone has automatically said Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Jordan Love and Jordan Love and CJ Stroud are now trying to take their step in and say, no. When you talk about who are the best quarterbacks in the NFL, you are going to say Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, right? That is what they're trying to do this season. And I think they're more than capable of doing that. I've talked at length. I think Jordan Love is connected to Matt LaFleur in a way that's just going to be just potentially to the moon, man. Like, I just think that, Matt LaFleur is that legitimate of an offensive coach, and you give him someone as great of a quarterback as Jordan Love is, and that can more often than not equates to an elite situation, right? We see that when you put great and great together, or great and elite, or an elite and great together, it equates elite, right? You're constantly putting each other in positions to succeed, and they have the roster to do it with. So they don't have to overcome all these deficits game after game after game. They have the roster to support that. So I just think that Jordan Love can be set up to have an insane year this year. Now, and also to have big wins, because they have the gauntlet of a division. Having now also the new fancy toy of the Chicago Bears, right? Having the Lions saying, "Hey, we've turned the page. We are legit now. We were in the NFC Championship game. Let's go." We're actually technically, I think, third or second highest odds, best odds to win the Super Bowl. I think above the Packers. So if Jordan Love now goes out and balls out against the Lions, balls out against Chicago, and says, "Settle down, we're the Packers, this is our division now," that goes a long way. I think what also Jordan Love and the Packers have going for them ahead of, say, even a CJ Stroud and the Texans, is also just the media popularity, right? There is a tremendous amount of attention on the Green Bay Packers. The NFL as a whole wants the Green Bay Packers to be there. So I think it's definitely, I definitely think it's Jordan Love's for the taking. If he's in that position. But CJ Stroud's going to have a lot to say about it as well. Make no mistake about it. That team is also legit right now as well. And they are also fighting for an AFC championship game. It's very possible, and I kind of really hope this happens, that we have the Houston Texans versus the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl, right? Two young quarterbacks, two teams that are ready to kind of turn the page and finally, become a legitimate winning franchise. I know the Packers obviously have that history, but not in recent time, quite frankly. I think a lot of people are now looking back on the years of Aaron Rodgers and the Packers as kind of, I don't want to say a failure, but just not good enough, right? Like, I think they're just kind of looking back at that as being like, this actually should have been significantly better. If you say Aaron Rodgers is as good of a quarterback as he is, why did we not have more success? Jordan Love can kind of be like, this is what it is to have a true top quarterback, right? Matt LaFleur gets to say, this is what it's like to actually have a true top coach. And then the Houston Texans are kind of saying like, hey, we're kind of starting from the ground up. Like, let's go. Our franchise kind of starts today. So just really interesting stories. I think some of the fatigue with Patrick Mahomes, if Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are legitimately the 1 seed, and it's clear that Patrick Mahomes is balling out, and a lot of people are starting to say, I think the Kansas City Chiefs three-peat. I think it's hard to say that anyone's going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes will probably still steal that MVP then, because again, they are going to look foolish, and they don't want to look foolish if Patrick Mahomes three-peats, is balling out, wins the Super Bowl again, wins the Super Bowl MVP again, but CJ Stroud wins the MVP, or Jordan Love wins the MVP, right? Like, he beats them in the Super Bowl or beats them in the AFC Championship game, and yet he doesn't get the MVP. They're not going to like that. So I think it's like, if it's clear that the Kansas City Chiefs are really another top elite team, and it's really feeling like the safe bet is to bet on Mahomes and the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, I think you'll get a lot of these more like fear hedging their bets type of votes for Patrick Mahomes. And I think that would probably be the biggest argument against, say, like a Jordan Love or a CJ Stroud. But then we also like these comeback stories. If Joe Burrow has the Cincinnati Bengals rocking and rolling and they're like the number 1 or 2 seed, people are going to lean towards that for Joe Burrow. If Jalen Hurts turns around the Eagles and now they're back in contention to win the NFC, people are going to love that. That's why I think this year has the potential to be really competitive. But I would say, just from a media narrative and just the general consensus, is that they want Jordan Love and CJ Stroud to be elevated to the top. that I think puts them in more of the driver's seat than any of these other quarterbacks. So I'm really excited. It's exciting to see Colin change his mind on Jordan Love to the point where he went from saying he is not the guy, get rid of him. And he literally said this last year, right? Before, essentially as late as like November or so, to now just a handful of months later saying he is going to win the MVP. Pretty extraordinary. And again, kudos to Colin to not only changing his mind, but boldly changing his mind. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think Jordan Love will win the MVP? Why or why not? And if not, who do you think is, has a greater potential to win? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.